Kris, Green Sabre, Doom Telly time once again, episode 46, and it's another competition that I'm entering. No, I've not run out of ideas. There's been lots of competitions doing the rounds. This one I've been putting off for a couple of weeks, but I figured I'll do it now, and then it's done. It's out of the hair, so this is going to be my spooky Halloween episode. All will become apparent very shortly, though. But let's begin with the updates. So, Green Sabre updates, not much to discuss. Pardon me, I'm ill again. Green Sabre update. Basically, we've not rehearsed in a few weeks. COVID/illness put paid to a couple of rehearsals. And then Rossi and Bri have been away alternate weekends and such like that. So this coming weekend we're back in, but I'll bet it's nearly 5 weeks since we've rehearsed. So yeah, we need to get back at it, back on the horse as such, because November is busy, as mentioned on previous videos. We've got loads of gigs. Saturday, November 11th at, don't tell me, Vortex in Wakefield. We're supporting Iron Void, Sabre Wolf, Master Charger at the Iron Void 25th anniversary show in Wakefield. Going to be brilliant. Really looking forward to that. So that's our first November gig, Saturday 11th. The following weekend, we're at the Blind Pig in Sabre Bridge. Originally supposedly supporting Gods of Hellfire, but not anymore. Replaced, though, by Oaken Throne. So it's going to be a smashing evening. So yeah, that's Saturday the 18th of November. Blind Pig, Sabre Bridge. Us, Oaken Throne, Lifer. Don't tell me. No, that's what the other band are called. Huddersfield Sludge Merchants, if I remember rightly. And then the following weekend, it's still not been officially announced, but it is happening. The gig's announced. They've just not announced who the supports are. Well, we're one of them. I will await the official announcement before I say anything, though. But it's in Halifax, Saturday the 25th of November. That was all I'll say. Now, the astute amongst you will probably be able to put two and two together and work out what gig it is that we're on at. But I'm saying now until it's been officially announced. So, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that's the Green Sabre update. Back at it this weekend, and then we need to get motoring because we're recording in January, and that is looming ever larger. The side project. We're going to be going in the studio this weekend to lay down the basic tracks on that one. So I'm very much excited about that. We've got 2 tracks ready for studio. I'm not going to say anything else about what we're called yet. It's kind of death metal, blackened death metal, if you will, in places. That's the kind of vibe that we're going for. Yeah, not going to tell you the band name. Not going to tell you who we comprise of as yet. We're sort of a super group. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to you all hearing this. It's going to be great. So yeah, final rehearsal Monday night. And then, yeah, studio to get the basics, to get the bones recorded as such like. So yeah, watch this space. I'll keep you updated though. Okay, those are the updates. Right, competition time. Alters of Mattness, shout out. Did a video a few weeks back now where he's doing a Halloween giveaway. That's what it's called, I think, something like that. Yeah, Alters of Mattness Halloween giveaway, I've called it. So essentially, I'll put a link down to the original video that he did, which is only a short one. It's like 2 or 3 minutes or something. But basically, 2 questions that he wants you to answer. So, I did a spooky episode last year, which was episode 3. That's it, yeah, to digress slightly. I completely forgot to mention, I've been doing this over a year now. Can you believe we've had over a year of Doom Telly? I think it was like October 4th or 5th. That the first one went out, 2022. So here we are, October, what's the date as I'm recording this? Hang on, 15th of October, yeah. So, over a year. I should have marked that at some point. I keep doing all these competitions. At some point soon, I will do my own competition. So, watch this space. I'll get something that I can give away, something, substantial. But yeah, So anyway, long story short, so I was going to do a Halloween episode anyway, so I've decided to do this as my Halloween episode, so here we go. So yeah, Alters of Mattness Halloween giveaway competition. The questions are, name 5 albums that remind you of Halloween or that get you in the spooky mood for the season or such like that. So that's the first part of it. And the second part is 5 of your favourite Halloween/horror films. So, yeah, I was all over this because this is my niche subject. This is my kind of, this is my level of expertise. Now, yeah, I'm probably going for some fairly obvious choices, but they're the greats, and I figured that they need talking about in this one. So, let's kick off with the first question. 5 albums that get me in the spooky mood and get ready for the Halloween holiday season. And the first one, this I could have picked anything by this band. It is, of course, the Misfits. But I've gone with Earth AD because I feel like this has got the spookiest titles on it. It's probably got the creepiest cover, you know, with a sort of pile of zombie corpse bodies and stuff like that. Is that supposed to be Doyle on the top of it? I'm not quite sure. But yeah, I think they're all in there somewhere. But yeah, you've got crackers on here. Earth AD. Devil Lock, Death Comes Ripping, which is my personal favourite off of this album. Green Hell's on here, of course. Wolf's Blood, Demonomania, Blood Feast, Hellhound. They're the spookiest, the creepiest titles and stuff like that. So yeah, the Misfits in general, always. To caveat that, I mean, I've got a Misfits tattoo. They're a big deal to me. But I flat out ignore anything that came after Glenn Danzig left. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. The Glenn Danzig era of the Misfits is some of the greatest music of all time. Everything else that followed it is horse shit. So I just wanted to get that out there. Almost like 2 different bands. Well, it is 2 different bands. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, I could have picked any old Misfits album, but I went with Earth AD because that's the spookiest. Okay, right, so next up, now there were so many death metal records that I could have picked, mainly for spooky covers, if I'm honest, like the Dismember one, like an Ever-Flowing Stream, Entombed's Left Hand Path, or even, I've forgotten the fucking name of it now, the follow-up, but yeah, even the second album might well, Clandestine, might well have gone in there, and various other death metal ones, Cannibal Corpse, Autopsy, but I've recently just sort of covered a couple of their albums, so I didn't want to bring them out again. But I thought, actually, no. What's spooky? What's Halloween? Satan. So I went for the most satanic of death metal bands, and that is Deicide, of course. Yeah, this always gets me right into the Halloween mood, because it's just pure evil. It's straight up classic death metal, but yeah. Pure Satan, pure evil, and yeah, the most evil of death metal, if we're going to say anything. I mean, look how evil they are on the back of there. Don't get eviler than that, does it, kids? Yeah, so I thought, well, let's go for the most evil of death metal, and what is that? Deicide, of course. So yeah, number 2 to get me into the holiday mood. Number 3, and this is, it's probably not the most evil content, and it is also death metal. But I thought it's the most blood-curdling, well, it's the most horrific of album covers, if you will. And I don't think I've shown it on here yet, so it's my original picture disc of Pungent Stenches Being Caught Buttering. So, yeah, apologies if you're fragile and that sort of is slightly off-putting. But, yeah, I mean, that's just horrible, creepy, sickening Halloween stuff, isn't it? You know, so, yeah. Yeah, I thought I'd show that. That can be my number 3. That gets me in the Halloween mood. So, yeah, Pungent Stench. Number 4. And this is more about the atmosphere it creates, pure evil. And I've gone for Nightbringer. And their, is it the second album? No, it might be the third album, is it? Or is it the second album? Anyway, Ego Dominus Tus, or however you pronounce it. I think this is my favourite Nightbringer. If I had to pick one, this would be my favourite one. It's just all out, insanely intense, bludgeoning black metal, modern black metal. And it's got an atmosphere, all of it. So Nightbringer are one of the greats at that. And of course, if you most of you will be aware, but it's Kyle Spanswick, who is Naz Alchemeth of Nightbringer and of Achilles. I nearly showed Achilles Milano because that's pure nightmare fuel. But I've just recently talked about that, so I've got a pure nightmare fuel following this, which I haven't shown yet, so that's why I've gone for, well, I thought I'd go for Nightbringer instead. Kyle, Nas, however you want to pronounce it, he's one of the absolute pioneers at nightmare fuel black metal. It doesn't get more evil and unnerving than what he does, apart from possibly one other band, which I'm about to show. But yeah, my number 4, Nightbringers. Let me get the pronunciation, Ego Dominus Tus, which, yeah, my favourite Nightbringer record. Pure terror. And the other one to get me right into the nightmare mood is this Lovecraftian piece of excellent, the latest Bluthaus Nord, Disharmonian Nahab, I believe. Yeah. Now, the previous Disharmonium, last year's release, which the suffix of that I can't quite remember the name of, but that was pure nightmare fuel. And until you hear this, and it's like they've ramped it up a gear somehow. This is even more terrifying sounding. It's really uneasy, unnerving listening, and it just is, yeah, pure creepiness in music form. Bluthaus Nord for me, and Achilles, Nightbringer, Nas Alchemeth anyway, in his various guises. I think the pioneers at this really nightmare fuel, Lovecraftian sort of dystopian, all hope is lost kind of nightmare fuel. Yeah, that's really the best way of putting it. It's a really unnerving listen. You've got to be in that right frame of mind to go with it. It's not something you can just throw on in car, although to be honest, this is what gets thrown on in the car recently. But yeah, so my number 5, Bluthaus Nord with their latest Disharmonian Nahab, which is right up currently in my top 2 of albums of 2023, so look out for that episode coming at the end of the year. So that's my 5 albums that get me in the spooky mood. Part 2 was my 5 favourite Halloween / or horror films. So I went all out on this one. I went basically for 3 of my favourite of all time. Well, actually, no, 4 of my favourite of all time. And a daft one. But a long story short, I like to, and if any of you follow me on Facebook and Instagram and various things, you will notice that I've been doing an October Halloween movie countdown, which I do every October as such, where I count down to Halloween by watching horror films, basically. And I like to mix it up, but there are a few that always get watched every year without fail, and these 5 get watched every year without fail, even if it's not Halloween. I get them thrown and such. So my number 5, and I love it. No, it's not an artistically great piece of work. It's not the scariest film ever, but I always watch it every Halloween because I love it, and it takes me back to my youth when I first saw it. It is, of course, Monster Club. When was this? Like early 1980s, I think it was made, like 1983 or something like that. It might even be 1980. I need to get my glasses out to see what year it was made, but anyway, 1981 even. Monster Club. It's basically like, it's a daft kind of Tales from the Crypt vibe thing, except it's set in a nightclub inhabited by monsters, and it gives you this sort of daft backstory on how ghouls and demons and the family lineage and all that. Vincent Price is in it, and you've got like 4 short stories, like 4 short little horror classics and stuff like that. And yeah, they're fucking stupid. Some of the effects are criminally bad in it, but it's ace. It's just brilliant. Yeah, I love it, and I watch it every year without fail. It's one of them where it's so bad it's brilliant. Does that make sense? It's got some contemporary pop hits running through it that played in the club, which again have not fucking aged well whatsoever. But I love this film. So yeah, they were always going to be in my top 5. Every Halloween it gets played, so I had to show this without fail. Monster Club. My number 4. Every Halloween I watch this because it's one of the greatest horror films of all time. Some people would say the greatest. And it is brilliant. It's aged great. And one of them that's... anyway, I will show it you before I waffle on anymore. The Exorcist, of course. The greatest film about demonic possession there has ever been, you could argue. And there have been a few, to be fair. I love this one for the pure atmosphere that it creates, and it's aged really, really well. And one of them that spawned some decent sequels as well. Exorcist 3 is a masterpiece. I don't have a physical copy of that though, and you don't tend to find it on any of the fucking streaming sites, so I need to look out for that. But it's just pure class. I don't really need to say much more about this. The Exorcist, yeah, the absolute Halloween horror essential. So yeah, that's my number 4. My number 3 is one of, again, not probably one that's viewed as cheesy, dated badly, not one of the horror greats, but it's one of my favourites of all time. Salem's Lot. And this is the David Soul version, with Reginalda playing Barlow in it, as you can see on the back there. I adore this version. I think it, because it's, no, without using the phrase again too much, I think I've used it about 6 times already, nightmare fuel as such. Like, this plagued my nightmares as a child, because in someone's infinite wisdom, when we were small, like 8 or something, they let us stay up and watch this when it was on telly. And if you've seen this, you'll realise that's a terrible idea, to let an 8-year-old watch this. For weeks and weeks, any kind of noise that I heard outside of the window I thought was some vampire floating. And I think the effects in this are spectacular. Yes, it's a TV movie, essentially. Let's not beat around the bush as such. Like, it's a TV film, and it's aged like that as such. You've got like TV celebrities, some big names in here, like Christ, James Mason, Reginalda, of course, who was a kind of old Hollywood great who plays Barlow in this. I love their take on Barlow as well, because they rework it from the book. I mean, obviously, if you've read the book, this kind of ultra scary, bald, Nosferatu-esque nightmare that you see before me, that was mute in the film as well. He just makes growling noises. He has no words. But Barlow's quite a talkative, more like your typical Dracula kind of thing in the Stephen King book. And they reworked that for the film as a homage to Nosferatu, but also to make him more terrifying. And it worked a treat. A lot of the Barlow lines from the book are given to the Straker, the James Mason character in the film, and that's how they work around it. But terrifying. And it still is now. I think it's... A lot of people say it's dated terribly. I would disagree. I think it's aged ace. I don't know whether that's my youthly nostalgia that still gets frightened by it, but there's some genuinely frightening moments in this, and that's why it'll always be in my Halloween top 5. Well, that, and coming in at number 3 on this one. My number 2, and might be my second favourite film of all time, because the number 1 in this is, if I had to choose, is my favourite film ever. And this might be my second favourite. It is John Landis's An American Werewolf in London. I saw this when I was really young. It was one of them where I feel like I've explained this on a previous video, but when we were a kid, when my dad worked abroad, we ended up getting like a Betamax video recorder. So that was all we had. So when you went down, if you were a child of Betamax like I was, if ever you went to a video shop to go and rent something, it was fucking walls and walls of VHS and about 6 Betamax videos. Because, yeah, it should have worked. It was smaller, it was more compact. The quality was better, I believe, in Betamax. But Sony failed to fucking tie up the film rights. So VHS was savvy, and they got all the rights to distribute the films on cassette. Sony weren't so fucking intelligent and knackered there all, so that's why Betamax failed. But anyway, that's another story. A horror story in its own right. But yeah, we had Betamax, so we were very much limited to what we could watch on the damn thing. And I think eventually my dad just got bored of picking either Grease or one of the, whatever it was, that, yeah, it's Alligator and Piranha that we watched over and over again. But, yeah, so I eventually rented American Werewolf. And yeah, I loved it, but absolutely terrifying. And it's one of my favourite films ever. I mean, can you believe this bombed when it come out? The critics hammered it. Don't know if it's a comedy, don't know if it's a horror. Well, that's what makes it amazing for me, because it's really funny and horrific at the same time. It balances that horror and comedy absolutely seamlessly, and I don't think there are many other films that have really nailed it like this has either. The special effects are stunning, and it is just sensational. I'm sure most of you have seen this. If you haven't, my Christ, remedy that immediately. One of the greatest films ever, American Werewolf in London. my favourite horror film of all time, and gets watched every year at least once, probably twice or three times. One of the greatest films ever made for me. It is absolutely without fault. It's perfect, every aspect of it. The Thing, the original 1980, not the original one where there's a large carrot chasing them around, 1950s snowscape. No, the Kurt Russell one from 1982, the John Carpenter classic, The Thing. Absolutely nails the brief. The performances are stunning in it. The visuals are incredible. The special effects are unrivaled. And when you think that they're physical, there's no CGI in this. It's just spectacular and has aged amazingly. The story is great. The tension that's created throughout it. The soundtrack. It is 10 out of 10. It is a movie without fault for me. The Thing. And why it will always be in my top one of not just horror films, of films of all time. Like I say, there are so many. I love, one of my other favourite films of all time is Apocalypse Now. But that isn't without fault because it's too long. I mean, Christ, if you've watched The Redux, that's like 4 hours plus. And then there's the definitive versions now and stuff like that. I love all of them, don't get me wrong. And I can sit there quite happily through the 4 hours. But it is a little overly long. This isn't. It's just it's the right tempo, it's the right mood. Everything is faultless. Everything about it. The greatest film of all time. And an absolute Halloween horror staple. The Thing. Even the director's commentary on there with John Carpenter and Kurt Russell is worth a watch. Brilliant. So yeah, that's my entry to Alters of Mattness's Halloween giveaway competition. I'd like to see loads of others. I've not been Googling very much of late. I've been, hence the 2-week gap, it's been intensely busy at work and various other stuff. So, and with me now running 2 bands in timbre as well. So yeah, I've not had a tremendous amount of spare time on my hands. But it'll all go back to normal shortly. So thank you for watching. Not quite sure what next week's video will be as yet, but no doubt it will be an update from the recording of my side project and Green Sabre update. That'll be the main bulk of it, and I don't know, maybe there'll be another competition. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Oh, one final thing. Thanks to my new subscribers. I'm up to 150 now. Yes. That probably in itself feels like it's a competition-worthy amount. So maybe that's what next week's video will be. But I need to get I want to get a decent prize. So yeah, I don't just want to sort of say, here's a Green Sabre t-shirt or something like that, you know. Or here's a Green Sabre sticker to the lucky winner. Anyway, enough. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.